We're good. What's today's date? The 20th. Welcome to the budget meeting number 2 for the Village of Fairport on Monday, March 20th at 6:02 p.m. We're here in the Village Hall boardroom, and we'll go ahead and get started. And before we get started, Megan, can you take roll call, please?
Trustee Wojka?
Here.
Trustee Bonaski?
Hello?
Trustee Mishler?
Here.
Trustee Briggs?
Here.
Mayor Demeretz?
Here. Village Manager White, would you start taking us through budget meeting number 2 through the next section of the budget?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. So today on our schedule, it's really loose. We can do whatever we really want. I think we just stick to what we're scheduled today, which I think is going over some of the administrative offices here in Public Works. We're going to get through it pretty quickly, so I think we can kind of power through, ask questions randomly as they come up. There doesn't have to be anything. It's just anything that might be on your mind, things you want to talk about, things that you're interested in, or review. Let's do that. So fire away. But I think on the official list or notification that we sent out for budget review schedule, I think we had the village manager's office, the clerk's office, the mayor's office, village board's budget. We went through some of that with the presentation. Those are very minutiae budgets. They're personnel related and contractual costs associated with some training and so forth. They don't really entail a lot of things, but more than happy to review or ask or answer any questions you may have of that. I don't know how much you really want to go into it or not. The Board of Trustees, 81010, which is page, if you're looking in this budget, if you're looking, so it's what tab do we got here? Appendix 5.
Appendix 5?
Let's do that first. Appendix 5. And in Appendix 5, you'll be on page 12. Well, let me rephrase that. It's page 139 of 200. I was looking at page 12 of KVS. It's page 139 of 200. Okay. 81010 is at your top left. That's the chart of accounts designated by the New York State for the Board of Trustees.
Oh, okay.
Again, it's just 4 members of the board, audit training, the audits pushed there every year, training, annual retreat, any registration costs they may do and miscellaneous things. I'm not sure how much you really want to go through any of that or not. Go ahead, please.
I'm on page 12.
Yep.
42.
Correct. You got it? Okay. Is everybody there, what we're talking about?
Yes,
Yeah?
we're
Okay.
there now.
Sorry. So again, fairly straightforward, nothing magical going on there. Again, mayor's expenses are just, they're cut out from Board of Trustees, not because we like to make the mayor feel mayorish and special. It's more so because the New York State requires us to do so. But same thing. There's the costs associated with the mayor's office in addition to training. Nothing else, nothing more.
Brian, can we be considerate of Jason since he's here? Can we just jump into DPW?
Do you really want to be considerate?
We
Oh.
always. Oh,
I
he's.
mean, I guess I'll just sit around and wait for Jason and.
Do you want to finish eating, Jason?
Just remember, this is all being recorded.
I'd say let's follow it in line and get to.
This will take us 5 minutes.
Okay.
The rest of this, I mean, there's just nothing here to chew on. A1230, which is the manager's budget, that is on page 140 of 200. So that your top line is manager and salary. Then you have dues, travel, conferences, miscellaneous, and leadership training included in that budget. It's down a little bit just due to, as we discussed in the presentation, some grant writings out of there, but also just my inability to travel as much as I used to. There's so much other travel that's required for work, especially a lot for Fairport Electric. The ability to do some of those things, I do just enough to where I can keep up in the things that are really interesting to me and do those things, keep up my CPUs and for education that's mandatory for my credentialing, no different than Jason has to do for code enforcement, public works, accounting for Megan, all those types of things. There are opportunities to do a lot of things online. There are opportunities to do reading exercises. I'm a ICMA nationwide coach, so I do that 4 or 5 times a year for folks that want a mentorship program to get in this business. What is it like? What should you be doing? What are the pitfalls you should avoid via experience? So I do enjoy doing that. I do that quite often. I'm also for SUNY Brockport, I am their liaison to ICMA in this profession, and we have board meetings once a month, and we go in there and we give them guidance and get technical experience based on the topic matters of their choice and so forth. So those things are fun. I enjoy doing those. You make a difference and impact. People are actually interested, in what you're doing. But between that and MUA and all the other things with that, it becomes a lot.
Well, thanks for,
Oh, sorry.
just vetting that and accurately reflecting that in the budget.
Sure.
It sounds small, but it's, every little bit counts, so thank you.
Yep.
And
So-
thank you for being a leader with the next generation, keeping them excited about government and
I'm
things
glad to hear you
like
say that because I think we have a duty and a responsibility to do that. Someone looked out for me and all of you when you got in your profession. There was somebody to guide. I know the exact person, I still keep in touch today, that kept me through this business, and quite frankly, I was ready to quit at one point. And he's like, hey, let's sit down and talk about it, and because it's challenging, it's tough. There's a lot of pitfalls. You get nervous, you get frustrated. Is it really worth it? All those things that come into play in any profession throughout your career, you go these ups and flows. An excellent mentor, and the difference for me, at the time, I was in my early 30s, and he was probably in his 70s, and he was still that relevant, brilliant individual. He was actually a former city manager of Rochester. Rochester used to have a city manager back in the day. So great to talk and do those things with them. So we have that.
Okay.
We have A1325, which is the clerk treasurer's office. I don't want to speak for Megan unless you want to speak to that, but again, very straightforward. There's two individuals in her office, clerk treasurer and the clerk 3. We talked about during the presentation, her number 2 in that office it's a planned retirement that'll be happening this summer. So Megan is in the process of appropriately defining succession plan to hire and recruit for that individual and get someone in here that can really assist and do it right. It's an office of 2, and in order to make it really an office of 2 and do it the way it's been done recently, those 2 people have to be on the same page. They have to be very competent. They have to be able to pull their weight and really put in the time that's needed. And that's what makes it work. It's not so much just a function of just doing busy work. There has to be some competency there, a lot of trust factor, dealing with money you're dealing with. You are the face of Village Hall. When someone comes in, that's the stop that you go to in an effort to determine what you need, where to go, and how's it done. So it's a really important role. A lot of things happening through that office. I feel confident that we're going to get some great candidates to come in and join Megan's team.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
So the person who's in that role today is classified as a clerk 3. Are you planning to bring somebody in as a clerk or a deputy clerk treasurer? In general, where do you see that other person going? And if I'm not asking an appropriate question, tell me I'm not.
No, we're really lucky to have the person we have right now. She is classified as a clerk 3, but what she does is much more broad than that classification. So we have created a new title with civil service, deputy clerk treasurer, which allows us to recruit for someone who will be able to do that broad spectrum, if that helps.
Thank you.
Looking for enhanced duties, enhanced responsibilities, enhanced competencies. You're not restricted so much off of what a certain title does or does not provide. We want to maximize the opportunity, as we always do in any vacant position, really look at, it's not about filling the vacancy, it's really looking at the work. What's required? What are the voids that need to be met? What are those job tasks, duties, and responsibilities that need to do? Then you create the title and you find the person who fit that role. You don't do it the other way when you hire by just filling a job and saying, well, gee, this is what we need to be done. So we look at things a little differently when we hire from that regard. So, and it really works good. And, you know, Megan spends a lot of time doing just a lot of busy work. And if she can concentrate on the bigger picture and have some other folks that can really help out in some other capacities, a more financial background, that's all the merrier. But we plan on doing a significant recruitment process. Anyone that joins this team is going to have a great office to work in with some great colleagues. Look forward to that. So that's underway. I'll be happy.
I wholeheartedly agree. It is a
there-
great office.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Was there a reduction in the cost of printing the budget book? Was that a significant? How did we get
It's
that?
about $1,000 a print.
How,
right?
yeah, how did we do that?
Oh, I know that, but that was like $8,000. So it's about $1,000 for each budget. So proposed budget's $1,000, adopted is $1,000, and it's a process to do. Megan went to Staples on Sunday and spent time with the office. Oh yeah, she's got a whole group. They kumbaya. They go out for coffee. They know us.
But you saved, I think you
We have to
saved
go
the
through every
village,
single
what,
page,
yeah.
make sure it's perfect. But with the reduction that you're seeing, it's approximately $8,000. We've done a lot of soul searching on this. We've elected to not renew our ClearGov budget presentation membership. It's more so that our expectations for what the capacity is for that digital system is not meeting our expectations. We want to do more. We're doing more in-house than what it's actually providing. The analytics, while it looks kind of fancy in nature, aren't really there. You will see a very different budget book next year. Megan and I are going to try to do something a little different, but we're going to do it in-house and see what we can do.
I remember the first time we used that as a newer trustee.
We actually presented it with it, yeah.
And I remember really missing just the.
It's, again, it's not meant, so you're correct, trustee Mishler. It's more for just a static document once this process is over that the public can kind of look at differently. And it's also more for, and this is really what it's for, most municipalities don't put together a really comprehensive budget book or presentation or anything like that. So it's basically taking your financial printouts via a line item budget, which is the most common general fund budget in the country, and putting that into some type of budget format. That's why it's created, and that's what it's for. We were already doing that. So we tried to curb that digital experience and trying to present it. I told her when we presented it the first time 4 years ago or whatever it was, I hated it. I didn't think we dived down. I didn't think we got into the details. I definitely believe that the message for the budget was not accurately portrayed. We talked about it in length. I wouldn't stop talking about it. I felt like we failed in that presentation. So we've been trying to work with it. It does have its purpose. It is there. I just think there's better opportunities to do something better for the time, and especially when you're talking about $8,000. It's something I'm not championing and going, wow, this is a great product. Why do it? It's $8,000.
Yeah.
So we just elected to take it out. It's not so much for the money, it wasn't meeting, I think, the expectations. So you will see something different in the future, more than likely in-house. We're going to take the time to do it. We want to do something this year with the challenges of this budget and working this thing out to get it to where we were at. It seemed like it never ended. I couldn't spend any more time in that room over there. I was losing my mind. I think Megan was too. So we just elected to kind of continue what we're doing, which is still a great document. It's well done. Trustee Briggs and I were talking today. I mean, we try to make it as easy to understand as possible. We don't put this budget book together for us. We don't look at it. We don't need it. I'll go look at the real-time financial data in the accounting system, where we're at, what's going on. It's more so for you and how this budget is read and understood by the public. That's the only reason it exists, and it's a lot of time. But if we were just doing the true budget of this, we would have been done a month ago, right? It's about turning it into a document that the public can utilize and understand, and that's the game changer.
For sure. An important piece, though.
Yep.
For sure.
So, with that, one of the things that I did like about what we had before, sort of some of like the interactivity of it. I know it does simplify things a little bit as we're looking at it, and as you're working internally. I totally understand if it's not doing what you want it to do, then don't pay for it.
we were already providing everything that I already showed. I mean, even the interactivity in my opinion, was supposed to go through a bunch of number of years and kind of do some analytics and show those things. It really didn't even do that well.
Okay.
That was the whole point of it, and really seeing that historical view. I didn't find that it did that at all. It was supposed to be a significant tool to do that. And again,
Right.
it's sold more for if you don't have really much and you just need to upload your budget, which is what you do there, and all of through the digital background. Don't ask me any more than that because I don't know. But all the account codes automatically are uploaded, and they react into that system, and it ties everything together and puts it together with a pretty bow, if you will. We were already doing that, and it just wasn't. And you couldn't customize it, which I think was a big part of it. You couldn't make it your own. It was quirky in that regard. There was just so many more things. Every time we say, oh, I want to do this, why don't we do that? And then we just had limitations on the system. So we just said, you know what? Why fight it?
All right. Yeah, just because
You won't lose anything, I promise you. Whatever you see here, it'll be enhanced. If not, you can yell at Megan.
well, no, because I think obviously you put a lot of work into it, and just want to make sure that whenever folks who maybe don't go through this process, i.e., probably everybody not in the room, whenever they do go looking for something, it's easily accessible and digestible. Just the UI.
Go ahead.
As someone who has dealt with this, and this is the process when I came in and then went to go to the online version, and I wanted to go out and read through it and look through it, it was really challenging to find a similar format to what it was already used, because it was broken out in different ways that you had to dig
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
And for digital natives like you, it's probably okay.
I'm on the cusp there.
But for what's the demo group that I'm not a digital native. I like to look at paper. Not all the time, but for something like this where it's very detailed, I think I need to be able to look at paper, and seeing all this stuff online, I just want to print it out so I can sit down and go through it. And it was impossible to get it to show up like this. So I get what you're saying, but for the cost of what we were paying for it, I think we can keep looking for something better.
I'm not suggesting that we keep paying for it. I'm just saying that as
You don't want to lose the content, and make sure that if we're going to get rid of that we continue to provide the graphics and the input and the data that people are accustomed to, and it's easy to read.
Right. Well, because honestly, I do agree with you. I like printing stuff out. That's what I mean. I'm on the cusp. I like to print stuff, and then if it's online, I'm almost looking for it in a different format. I'd
Sure.
rather not look at a PDF online.
Don't think that was a slight on you either.
Oh, let me
I
tell
hope
you.
you're
So,
not. I hope you're not
remember-
heartbroken that I made you younger than
I
you
remember
actually are.
vividly, Megan and I's first real argument was, well, if we're going to the budget book and we have this online presence, why the hell do I have to create a book? Remember that?
Yeah.
And why do we have to print a book?
I don't think she used
And the
the
old
hell
school
word.
of me kept saying, well,
No
because
double hockey sticks.
because I like a book and I like to grab things. And then Jason jumped on and said, I like the book. Remember that? And he goes, I just want to grab it and see what I'm doing. I don't want to go and touch all the digicals and all the buttons and the drop downs. And we kept going like, why? I don't get why we keep doing this.
right.
Remember that? We kept going on about it. You're supposed to agree with me.
Well,
And then it finally came around. I was like, yeah, it's kind of nice. And,
But I do agree with you. Like, to your point, like there's times when it's like I'd want to go in and cross-reference and see how this connects to something else, and it didn't have that intuitiveness to it. You had to find another way to get to that information.
they sold that it did. It just
Yeah.
didn't. And that's okay.
Yeah, so I get
And
it.
maybe we go to another platform in the future. It just won't be that one. Right? So we definitely belabored that too
Can
long.
I just make a comment to Megan? You have an incredible attention to detail. It's just amazing
And appreciated.
and appreciated.
And appreciated.
And you have a really nice ability to communicate complex ideas in a more simplified way for us kind of normies. Which I think is a very, very important skill to have, especially in your role. Because it's great that if you know it, but if you can't communicate it, nobody else is going to understand it and be able to speak to it. So I really appreciate you in this position. Yeah, I mean that very
you.
wholeheartedly. So, yeah.
Okay, we need to get to the DPW.
All right.
I'm sorry, treasurer stuff, just hold on. One thing of note is like our village attorney contractual expenses. So if you're looking at things like on page 142, this is something, just as an FYI, we were generally in the ballpark of anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 a year on average with former legal-related fees. We're spending the money right now. We're probably going to we're over the budget this year. We're going to be similar to $40,000 ish plus for next year. Really, in the end of the day, it's not a lot. It's just something we're just not accustomed to. When we end up transitioning to our existing corporation counsel, there was a lot of things that were just kind of sitting out there that had to be kind of dealt with and remedied and so forth. We've been getting a lot more into process management and spending the time with legal to set up a structure today, which costs some more money, but then that way we have a procedures for how we do code enforcement and building inspection and, you know, summary motions to get out of judgments and not be co-defendants anymore. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen. I mean, the board should know you get sued 50 times a year. We answer to those things and take care of them. And then, so there's just a lot of little things that we're doing and massaging through those, and it's been great. You know, John and his team at his firm has a lot of partners there with a lot of varied disciplines that have been helpful. So we just had that. We had the Potter House that was going on, which took forever, right? And just little things that kind of just carry on for a while. We've had some significant code enforcement issues that have wound up in state Supreme Court, which takes some time. Those procedures and how we work those out was something very, very new to the village, taking a different legal court versus, you know, the town court pathway. So that took some working out, and now we have procedures for that. So just various little things about how we do things. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. It's nothing to be alarming. It's actually fine. I look at legal expenses just as this. You either pay now or you pay later, right? You want to make sure you're doing it correctly now versus being reactionary later and being caught in litigation or something else. So that's been great. We're going to go through, you should know with that too, we're going to go through a significant employee handbook redo this year. It's been on the books forever.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Employee handbook redo,
Oh,
policies
employee
and so
handbook,
forth.
okay.
Ours is really dated. Every time we go to it, there tends to be a more gray area than clarity. We're making decisions based on kind of a what was the intent of that when it was written 20 years ago type stuff. Us also not keeping up with federal regulations when it comes to labor laws and some other things that are really, really important. Not FEMA, I'm sorry, but FMLA and just other things. So, you know, we've been working through how our vacation and sick accruals are for people, and they're not getting vacation until a year after being here. I mean, what are we doing here? It's just the way it's been set up and structured for a while. So we just need to massage some of this, take a hard look at it. So we'll be revamping that this year, and staff will be taking a look at it, and we'll bring it before the board and kind of discuss it a little bit and get it adopted. But it's going to be a big project this year, but it needs to be done. It's time. Nobody wants to do it. It's a large project. It takes a lot of time, a lot of coordination. But it's going to provide for less headaches in the future.
And I mean, I would say too, I mean, like I know, yeah, sorry, Trustee Mischler. Anyway, sorry, my brain is still. I know we were noticing that when John came along, you know, the bills looked a little different, but it sounds like though at the same time we're getting what we pay for, and it's good. We're not just getting billed.
Yeah, I mean,
Like we're happy with
I don't want
what's
to negotiate the contract in public view like this, but the rates are higher.
okay.
So we're asking for more legal counsel, but the cost of that counsel is a little higher as well. Not that it reflects a different grade than what we were getting before. It's just, you know, the contract's higher. So that's also part of the increase and so forth like that. But I mean, I can tell you for a municipality to have a $40,000 legal budget, it's de minimis. I mean, most people have their own corporation counsel, whatever, or your own container, and you're paying somebody $200,000 a year. So common. To have something like this, and you're in the $20,000 to $40,000 range to run a multi-million-dollar company,
Yeah.
with a lot of different entities that affects, 6,000 people. It's not much. So,
Thank you.
all right. All right, now Jason, we can pick on Jason. So let's go to, let's see here, I think what page? I think it starts on page 150, no.
144.
Well, I was gonna skip that, there's nothing there. I know, I wasn't gonna get into it, 'cause it's just contractual costs associated with like sprinklers and HVAC and. Yeah, come on.
I want to bring your attention to the title in section 1641.4, item number 5.
Paige,
It's page 17 of 42 or 144 of 200.
thank you.
It's a specific title, and it means everything to me. And I'm being sarcastic.
So
Yep.
page 144 of 200, it's the DPW facility.
Right, but item number 5 is very important. It's where the nuts, bolts, wire clamps, and miscellaneous are.
Well,
So if we're looking for anything in this book, we should just go back to that item.
Yes.
And I bet you it's underneath there.
so you would
I'm
think that's,
sorry.
it's jokingly, but.
I'm sorry, I just had to do that.
When you know what you want before the year goes into it, and that's just one less trip you gotta make.
This is a loaded, I don't even want to get into this.
Okay,
It's just
all
not
right.
appropriate, but I can tell you, it's probably the most magnitude line item, because it's not just 1,000, it's gonna be about 20,000 when it's all said and done, but, in order to operate, you just need to have stuff on hand, and tools and whatever. We should be contracting with Fastenal saying, oh, by the way, this is a 1/2-inch bolt by 3/4, 1/2-inch bolt by 1 inch, 1/2-inch bolt by 2 inches with the nuts, the washer go with, and you keep going down the line. Before you know, you have 1,000 of these things, and it's all in inventory. There's none of that. If I need a nickel washer, Lowe's. Really inefficient, a lot of time, but it goes that way for a lot of tools, things that we were doing. So Jason went shopping for Black Friday, as he should. went a little crazy, but it was amazing some of the things that were just lacking, some of those things that we need to do. We have a full onboard shop in the bottom of Village Hall. Don't steal anything down there. But we can now do maintenance on this building and fabrication, do the work that we were doing. It's great. It's in the old restroom, so I'm sure Mo doesn't feel that great about himself, but it's a start and it's a space of his own. Built shelves down there, it's the whole thing. It's really nice, but nevertheless,
It's
so that,
awesome. But it was just a title of an
Yeah, I know.
item that I was like, that's where everything is.
I'd like to add that the all processes that we do through the Department of Public Works, we've broken them down and then looked at them through new sets of eyes, and it's a process that has to happen continually. And when I left my role as building inspector, code enforcement officer, and fire marshal for the village and went to the DPW, Mark stepped into my shoes and he broke down processes and found more efficient, better ways to do that. And that's how things get renewed, and that's how we get better. So we've, over the past 8-9 months, we've done that, and all the way down to the nuts and bolts, and literally. And what we found was that we're so limited in staffing that I can't afford for my team to go to the store every time they need something, every time we need a screw, every time we need a board, every time we need a bag of concrete. And because what happens is the lost productivity for that downtime, especially when if you're going and buying just what you think you might need, and you get there and you find out there's 10 other things that you need to go get. And we've all done this on a weekend project when we go to Lowe's or Home Depot and we think that we got everything. And do I need 2 or 3 of these? I'll just get 2. I think we'll be fine. And then you need 5, and you make 2 more trips getting those 5, right? Or maybe to 5 different stores because they ran out of them in between. that loss of productivity is, you never get it back. And those are the types of things that we need to dial in these efficiencies. So Brian and I spent, Brian Mandy and I spent significant time really dialing it down to the nuts and bolts. So,
It just says everything.
yeah.
But the whole operation, I mean, it's a continuous thing. Jason and I will meet tomorrow morning for coffee for 2 hours, and we will keep diving through every single act and how we do it, and how we do it now, and what's going on, and what's the impact.
That's the value
I look
of
forward to it.
creating
It's a
and
Thursday thing.
recreating and evaluating a process so that you have something that's repeatable, and then it becomes more streamlined because it does have a level of repetition.
And
Yeah,
It does, and, you know, Brian and I have the appetite for it, and we've got a fantastic team that we've continued to build on down at the DPW that is all on board with this. So they're excited to be able to do projects that maybe we've contracted out in the past. And we've contracted them out because maybe we didn't have the expertise in-house. And, you know, we've hired for that to some extent. And, again, finding efficiencies in our processes, we're looking at opening up or having more time to do projects that otherwise we would have contract out. And when it comes down to it, it's a value add for the community because the cost for me to do it, as opposed to it being contracted out, we can do it for pennies on the dollar. So any process that we can keep village staff on as opposed to a contractor, because once we send something out to contract, it's prevailing wage, it's you know, certified payroll, there's a bidding process, there's a lot of layers that not only in administration cost us money, but it costs us money because we're still staffing the same people, but they're not doing the work. And we're still staffing those projects because we need someone there that's inspecting this as it gets done to make sure that the village is protected and that things are being constructed or repaired according to the standards that are set forth. So it's money over money that we're spending, that if we are able to do a process or are able to do a project in-house, it's actually, the efficiencies and the cost savings are built upon themselves.
And I also see, I absolutely support what you're both doing and that it's essential to have this little inventory on hand. Because stuff happens and now you can address it immediately, whether it's a loose dock board or, you know, oh, there's a hole, go fill it. You just come get your stuff and do it and move on and there's not all those other layers of stuff. There's an immediacy for little things that can be handled quickly when safety stuff happens over, you know. So I agree with what you're doing. I think it's great.
Thank you.
We fully understand there's room for improvement here. Can be doing better things for Public Works to maximize their efficiency, maximize their output, attention to detail with Public Works, make sure those maintenance items are being done well to a standard in which we provide. In order to do that and meet those expectations that the board has, which I completely agree with, and we have them ourselves, we really, and our inability to expand really our human resources any further than what we have. I mean, every employee's $100,000. I mean, the time you put the fringes on it, that's what it costs. I mean, if we were to add 2 people tomorrow for Public Works, I'm gonna tell you right now, the output would be much different. The time you do sick, vacation, things happening, whatever the case may be, it's not a whole lot there. I would say you'd have to do at least 4. It's $400,000. That's not even a remote possibility of something we can achieve. So it's like live within the confines that you can and how the budget is built around it, but just try to maximize that to the point we can. We understand that we're missing in certain parts and just things get missed and, you know, we get bogged down and get caught up in the details. And before you know it, there's just things that are lacking. Totally agree. Jason agrees. We discuss it. So we're trying to really meet those expectations and be able to do those things that we haven't been probably doing so well before. to the point that we can. And it's also not just, finding the time. It's making sure that when we do the work, we do it right. But it's also making sure that your team's buying into what you're doing, so the work is better. There's a pride that's happening. It can't be me or Jason every time there's something that's just off, or a weed, or whatever, a light bulb. I shouldn't have to point it out. Jason shouldn't have to drive around and point it out. It should just be happening by people all looking at the same thing, right? Their minds on the goal, things we talk about here all the time. And that's the attitude and the environment that we're trying to morph and incorporate into the organization. It takes time. They're not robots. We can't program to this philosophy, but we want them to buy in and believe in it. I don't want to order them to do it. I want them to do it because they're engaged and they have the passion to do it. That's the culture that Jason's trying to build down there. It's exactly why he wanted to get the hell out of building inspection so bad. It wasn't because he hated the job so much. He wanted to build a team and build culture. It's exactly what he came to me 2 years ago and said in my office. And when he said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And I'm like, "Please tell me you're not resigning." Remember that conversation? That's what the conversation started with. I can do it. I want to do it. This is what I want. And here we are.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to ask two things. I was going to ask if there were questions from the board. But before you go there, Jason, is there something that you feel is important that we take note of other than this discussion about, how you've been rebuilding the department along with the equipment of the department? I see you have 2 pink Post-its on your book. I just thought maybe you had something that you wanted to highlight and bring to people's attention.
No, those are my notes. Going back to your discussion about these budget books, my budget book from last year looks like a worn-out catcher's mitt. It's a document that I am in every day, and something that Brian likes to do to me is he let me know that he made changes to my recommendations for budget, but he didn't tell me what they were. He goes, "Well, they're in your book." So, I've got some Post-it
I
notes.
must do what I need to do to balance the budget. I don't need your permission to do it.
So those may be notes of I need to talk to Brian.
I'll let you do that after the meeting.
Good. But no, I appreciate the dialogue, and nobody wants to see the DPW succeed more than us. The team that we have
Collectively,
down
and
Yeah.
your team.
there. Yeah,
It's a collective us.
So, there's, it takes time to adapt a different culture, with people that have been doing, in some cases, this job for 20 years. We're asking Tigers to change their stripes, and generally, they're all on board and eager to try new things, so it's fantastic. But it takes time, and it takes, a singular message that is reiterated often, in a supportive manner, but, so I appreciate the patience with the board. I think that there'll be great things to come that you'll see from us. And when you see something that you think needs attention, call me. Please reach out anytime. We want to succeed as much as you want to see us succeed. So that's it.
I just wanted to commend you on all the work that you've been doing. I mean, it kind of filters through when I review the expenses each month. Just kind of seeing, it's like, oh, I see we're getting a little bit more systematized now. I see there's kind of like, there used to be like sometimes I'd be like, wait, hold on, they went out 3 times on the and you're seeing less and less of that. It happens here and here. So I appreciate that. And, even to Brian, to your point there too, it's, as you're working on setting up the system, when you have that system going, knowing that at some point, you're going to be looking at improvements, it's easier to improve something when you have a system in place, right? Rather than, I guess patch that leak because it sprang. So, I really appreciate the work that you've been doing and putting in there. So
Thank
I
you.
kind of see it coming through. Obviously, there's everything that's going into making sure that, everything works. Are there any particular, is there anything in particular on the front of your and Brian's mind as you're having discussions like, okay, so this year it's going to be like, probably looking at the next couple of things. Obviously, we know there's some streets that are getting redone. Or is it just like, we know there's going to be probably a section of pipe or something somewhere that we just need to keep in mind, or something that in the back of your mind is saying like, yeah, this year is probably the year for that.
There's a lot of those things that are very front of mind. There's a lot of infrastructure things that I'm sure there's been times where Brian calls me and wonders what's got me so down, or there's a lot of we have a beautiful village that was constructed mostly a long time ago, and the infrastructure features and items that we have are aging, and there's a lot that needs to go into it, and we've done a lot of work, or my predecessor Paul Feely has done a lot of work with trying to develop a great plan for us to look forward, but those plans are ever fluid, because some things fail sooner than you anticipated, or if we haven't looked at an entire system, we've got sections of the village where I know that we need to get in and do significant storm sewer work, and
Oh.
true. These are things that it's crazy that it keeps me up at night. Like, how are we going to fit this together? How are we going to do these things? And luckily, Brian does a good job at calming me down, and we have a plan to sit down and just as we've done with roads, and we have a good capital plan moving forward with that. We're going to spend some time on our storm sewer system. We're going to spend a little more time on our sidewalks. We didn't have a real good plan other than we tried to replace sidewalks as we paved the road, or as the block became cracked or so deficient. Now we're trying to look at things a little bit more globally across the village and make the biggest impact where we can. But all those features and functions are part of what we have to do, and we can't turn our heads to it, So we take it as it comes, I guess, and we'll continue to. We'll build a great capital plan in the coming months. Brian and I will, and we'll have a fantastic plan, that will be ever fluid, but that we can work off of to hopefully really make a great impact.
No, great, thanks. No, like I said, just sort of like, it's good to hear that stuff, and like you said, televising the storm sewers and getting into the streets and setting the system up. Now you're able to kind of start transitioning to being more proactive about some of that. So that's, always out there and working. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I mean, we're gonna talk about sewer, and we can kind of do that now and warp in some of that regardless of the questions you're here, but go
Before
ahead.
you go on, Emily, did you have something that you wanted to comment?
I was just going to comment about the personnel, the challenges I can imagine or predict that in retaining good people, personnel that are willing and have the same sort of high standard that we're expecting from them. Do you want to speak to that at all, Jason?
Sure.
Be nice. We're recorded.
I mean, we're only as good as our personnel at the end of the day.
It's true, and we ask a lot of our DPW team, and when I say a lot, more than most people are willing to do. These are the people that are up at 3 a.m. plowing the streets. These are the people that, pardon me?
We have a 4-inch minimum.
They're plowing the streets at 3 a.m. They are, 4 or 5 days ago, we had a power outage in the village, and they are running a generator at the lift stations so that the sewers continue to flow. And they're there all night long, going from, yes?
Well, I have a comment after you finish
Okay.
with that.
They're going from lift station to lift station. So lift stations are where a sanitary sewers flush the toilet sewer. That sewer eventually gets to a portion of the village that's lower than everywhere else. And what happens is we have these great big underground containers, tanks, that inside there have pumps that pump the sewage back uphill to somewhere high so it can flow by gravity back down and out of the village. When the power goes out, those stop working. When those stop working, people have sewer that backs up into their homes. Sewer comes out of manholes and into the streets. Very, very bad things happen. And we've got guys out there pumping this. In some cases, manholes back up and they climb down in them. And they're in the nastiest of nasty conditions. They pick up the garbage every day, and we are a liberal, we have a liberal policy on what we pick up, and we pick up anything and everything, it seems. And from hypodermic needles sticking in their gloves to feces to anything else that they're throwing away day in, day out. They do the dirtiest of jobs in the village of Fairport, and they come in smiling. What a great team.
Well, after the power outage, they showed up after being up all night and still helped with the Oktoberfest. And that was much appreciated and got that going, and we're smiling and welcome. And it was like, you guys have been up all night. You don't have to do this. We'll get by. And they were like, no, we want to be here. We're, totally into the community, and we'll get the tent up. We'll get the electric up. We'll get the festival going on. And that was much appreciated.
Right. Thank you. But to continue on that, all the different things that they do, the garbage, trash collection, the sewers, the roads, they're out in the summertime and it's 90 degrees and they're working with asphalt that will melt your shirt. They're doing it and they're having a great time. They depend on one another. And that team, it's hard to find people that are willing to do that anymore. It's all trades are having trouble recruiting new blood, and the same goes for DPW. And if we had quite a few retirees when our superintendent retired, and I took over. Quite a few guys retired from the DPW, and it was challenging to find new staff. And Brian spent a lot of time developing a fantastic recruitment notice. We advertised everywhere. We advertised on Facebook, and we sent it on Everbridge and on X, and Indeed, APWA, the American Public Works Association, everywhere and anywhere that we could think of. And Indeed, we got a lot of hits. I was saying earlier, we probably got 250 or 300 applications, resumes, a ton. And I probably did more than 30 in-person interviews, multiple telephone conversations, and we didn't just fill the spots with anyone. We waited to fill the spots with people that we thought would have that philosophy that we were looking for someone that had a drive not only to work with their hands and have some type of satisfaction of building something, that those types of attributes, but that wanted to be a part of the team. So, and that were pleasant. It goes a long way. For morale, it really does. We all work better when we're happy. So it took some time, and we were actually at capacity for, I think, 2 weeks, Brian? Did I make it for 2 weeks? So, we're back looking, but I think we've got the positions filled. We signed on some conditional offers of employment, so we should be hopefully back to capacity in the coming weeks. But
Jason, I noticed there's 6 summer help positions listed in our budget. How are you doing on filling those positions?
I have one filled, and we'll say I have 2 filled right now. So we're searching. I reached out. I contacted a gentleman at BOCES who's liaison to the students. I haven't heard back from him yet. Brian and I sat down just a day or two ago, contacted Rochester Works. I don't know if we've heard back from them yet. It's just like anything else. If you've called a contractor lately, nobody calls you back anymore. So
We're working with the college, workforce development, the county. It's really, really hard. We called a couple colleagues in the state that recruit heavy for seasonals, and it was like a depression conversation because it's like they're all having the same issue. And it doesn't matter what you pay either. It's not a pay issue. It just, the labor workforce just doesn't exist. We'll keep doing it. We'll keep turning away. We'll turn every rock, do the max that we can. To the point of those attention to detail type things in the summer, it's really necessary that we get those 5, 6, 7, 8 folks that can just crush that kind of stuff. You really need to do it because you're still trying to do all the main things that you got to do, plus all your capital work and stuff. But all those little things matter, and we want to do them, but you need the capacity to do them. So we're going to do everything we can. We won't steer away from it or just kind of let it go to the wayside. We're going to do whatever. It means Jason and I are sitting in every open house and job fair from here to Buffalo. We'll do it. If that's what it's going to take to get the right folks in here and do what we need to do, that'll be that.
word of mouth goes a long way too.
Mm-hmm.
When I talked to Matt Haggerty from the Fairport Electric, and let him know, hey, we're looking. Please tell your guys, and he got the information out to his guys. I encourage the trustees, the mayor, if you have friends, neighbors that their kids need a little bit of bookstore money for next year's college season,
Husbands, whatever.
then send them my way. We'll be gentle.
No, I'm sending mine down. I told him tonight, I said, I got you some summer jobs.
We need dock masters too, so if you've got.
Ooh, you need a
someone
dock
who-
master.
These amazing blue polo shirts. Your legs are tan by the end of the season. It's a great job.
When does that start?
We're
I
hiring now.
have my boater's
We're
license.
hiring now.
It's a rolling.
Canal opens up May 15th, May 17th. We're going to hire you a month before, get you training, get you going, start doing some maintenance, cleaning, painting, power washing.
Mike, have you a dock master?
So I'm serious.
So,
You don't need to be all that. Just come in, have a great personality, great attitude, and you'll have a great summer.
You're an ambassador to Fairport.
That's it.
That's what we expect from our dock masters. There's light janitorial duties, but generally, you're an ambassador to Fairport. You walk around, you talk to the boaters, you tell them what's great, you tell them where to go, and you have fun. Put a smile on your face, enjoy the sun.
Hopefully you'll get to operate some brand new dock management software this year, right, Jason? He's
Wouldn't-
really reluctant. He's old school,
Wouldn't that be
but I'm pushing him, which is going to really help us manage those assets, maximize the linear footage of dock space that we have out there, start allowing reservations, understanding the analytics behind the things. So we had a great I thought we had a great call. Jason differs. We're going to move forward with it. But it's just going to help in the capacity of doing what we're doing over there.
On page 159, I noticed in the dock facilities, there was a jump, and I'm wondering if that's the tablets and software?
No, I think it's,
Page 32 of 42.
On the top there, yeah. We have tablets, squares, or software.
we
for it.
had boat pump out maintenance for $1,200 that we had some deferred maintenance. We did some work on the boat pump out station last year, but we didn't complete it all. It wasn't budgeted last year. It was kind of an emergency fix. So we're looking forward at that and saying, hey, look, we know that we've got some additional work to do there. I think there was a bump in the Canal Authority docking fee or Canal Authority fees. And then.
The motor bathroom rent goes up every year contractually.
And yes, and the repairs, parts, and supplies, I think that we made a slight increase there so we could do some additional potted plantings. Because
Oh dear, you said the magic word.
because we're kind of in a rebuilding year down there and trying to figure out what we're gonna do with the planting beds, that we wanted to do some type of supplemental planting, and that was what we added in there.
Do you want to speak about the new tablets?
I think what we'll find is we had tablets and squares or potentially software in there, and this was dialogue that Brian and I have had back and forth, but we wanted to be able to do something that's a little more streamlined, allow, one way or another, but allow us to accept payments electronically in some form or fashion, whether it be by credit card there in a swipe, or by them entering this information into a website through the software that we are now purchasing, because Brian said so. Either way, the intent is if we do the square and the tablet, that's about the price of the annual subscription to a square and a monthly fee for connectivity with a tablet. And it's roughly the same if we just were to do the software. If we did the software, we do have a tablet in the DPW that we could use already that to give to the dock masters to help them navigate that system. And then the boater would be using, actually they just use their smartphone to log onto the site, make their reservation, and pay. And it really could be done without the assistance of staff. They could pay and get it all resolved online, through either QR code that would direct them there or something. We haven't figured out quite the logistics of that.
We have new technology, right, that boaters can use to signal the lift master, the bridge master?
Yeah, they radio in and call in for a
There's an app though now, right?
bridge. I don't know if there's an app or not.
Yeah, there's
Is
an
it?
app. I forget what it's called. G was telling me about it last summer. Right?
It's cool.
G. Wonder if that could all be linked.
Or just call and wave.
Perhaps, but I think that all that software is through New York State Canal Authority. I don't know if we can attach or piggyback on that.
But, we're gonna do about 15 grand worth of organic weed control this year. Those hot spots that are hard to maintain and so forth. Dock banks, canal banks, beds, those type of things. Restructure how we do mulching systems and how we place them, what we do, how they're placed, so that's big. We're doing, 6 or 7 roads this year of preventative maintenance, oil and stone, longevity, somewhere around there.
We are.
We're gonna do a good, probably $20,000 worth of signage replacement and repair. Really start cleaning and standardize our thousands of signs and other things that we have matriculated over the years in the right of way, so that'll be good. I made the mistake of getting involved in this and I shouldn't have. Jason's demise and found some beautiful signs that I'd like to put through, which are absolutely beautiful, but anything that's beautiful costs a bunch. So I'm like, oh, they're between 400 and whatever. He goes, well, the way you want them, they're $1,000 a sign. I'm like, of course they are. But I think he's coming around. We're going to start for all those areas in our downtown Main Street corridor, our business corridor, our arteries like South Main and East and West Church. I think we can do a placement through there, and they're top notch. But we're still investigating that as well.
We are, and we're just working to ensure that whatever we do complements what our engineers have
Yeah.
in mind for a streetscape, because we want to ensure that, that's matching throughout. So I discussed with our project manager from CPL yesterday, and we're just getting some data points together, and I think he's got some alternatives that we can look at as well, so we can kind of get a feel for the right aesthetic that'll carry all the way through the village. Hopefully
Doing it
we'll see
right,
that.
longevity, aluminum versus steel, no more painting, no more rusting, something that really complements signs, borders around signage. I mean, just little add-ons, little doodads. We call them sprinkles in our business. I was
Yeah.
paying attention.
Too.
They have sprinkles,
You do.
and the rainbow sprinkles are
You need
great.
that eye candy.
And they just make a difference. So it's something you can't carry all over, but is it something we can do just that says, hey, you're in a different town with a different expectation? It works. So, again, there's a lot of little things that are happening. It's not always just the glamour. It's always just the infrastructure. These things aren't making or breaking community, but we're always trying to look at something new, something different, trying to enhance our capacity. Again, even when budgets are tough, it's just always about continuous improvement, progression. You don't have to get there overnight. You're never going to be able to do that. Just keep pushing the envelope just a tiny bit. Keep investing a little bit. And that's what this budget does, even though we have some budgetary constraints now versus and they're not really that constraint, I guess. It's just we've been living in a different time for the last 3 or 4 years, and now things are coming back to a more reckoning moment. As we talk about the financial forecast in future meetings, those constraints are still there without any type of other environmental things. I'm not too concerned. Things change over a year or two. You never know what's going on, how the economy moves, what tends to happen, and we'll have to start to address those as time comes on. And if we have to, we'll stick the mayor on grant detail. So we can do that.
Can I just ask a quick question about chip sealing?
Yes.
There's 7 or 8 streets that are going to be, we're going to use chip sealing to kind of
That's correct.
extend the life of those.
So the intent of chip sealing is to provide a new wear surface on an existing road. What I've learned in my short career as a DPW superintendent, through NICOM was my first time, but roads need consistent and structured repair or resurfacing. And in that, there's milestones that need to be looked at in order for us to be able to maintain and get the best longevity out of our roads. With a typical road surface, if we repave or do what's called a mill and fill, where you're milling and then repaving over the top, putting a new top coat on, typically those like to be resurfaced, chip sealed, within 7 to 10 years. The average is about 7 years is what the recommendation through Cornell Roads, Cornell Cooperative. And they have a highway school, and they teach us all these different things. Of course, just like everything else, no 2 roads are the same. It depends on how much traffic it gets, how much heavy traffic it gets, not just the number or volume, but the weight of the vehicles, how much sunlight it gets. The garbage trucks.
Trash trucks, trash roads.
But how much sunlight it gets in it, how many, if there's infrastructure that's there, that's aging, and people are replacing their sewer laterals or water services, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of cuts in these roads, and there's failures here or there. So all those things contribute, but generally it's a 7-year turnaround, and a chip seal provides that new wear surface and gives us the longevity to push that road out beyond, at least for typically another 7 or 10 years.
What are some of the roads that we're anticipating in doing that with? You don't have to name them all, I'm just curious. What are some of the big ones?
So my notes, we had it in our budget, and we didn't print the notes out here, but
Oh, that's okay. I was just curious. I mean, I'm super excited about the entire rehaul of Briggs and Summit. But
Yeah,
I know
that's-
that's like,
That's very exciting. I don't want to speak out of turn on those roads, but
I'm gonna think I
I
read
think
it somewhere.
that it might be South or Filkins, Fiora. Sorry,
Fiora sounds familiar from a list someplace.
We'll get you that answer, very specific.
I was just curious. It's,
yeah, I'd be happy to follow up with you. Honestly, there's a lot of detail in here, and, but
thank you, Jason.
you're welcome.
Nope, I don't know if you,
I was just gonna say, any other questions regarding DPW that you have for Jason? Or Brian?
so, I did notice that, so I'm looking through the department recommendation, manager recommendation, and then a total recommendation here for line item 28 on, page 27 of 42 or 154. Just want to make sure that we kind of know, because this, I'm sure this will come up also again this summer, cleaning the bathrooms, the public restrooms. It looks like are we still ironing that out in terms of what we're recommending then for the year? Because it's blank there, so I don't know if that.
No, that's summer help.
we've kind of ironed out how we do it. We've learned a lot about frequency, how it's being cleaned, what's going on, what are the demands. For the most part, we've been able to handle a majority of it in-house, and then using summer help or laborers or something that's around on the weekend to take care of those as-needed things. We haven't had a significant issue with that. It's more just the consistent vandalism that we've been seeking. I mean, St. Patrick's Day weekend, everybody wants to keep the bathrooms open, right? You hear a lot of complaints. Well, we did. Somebody basically rips the adult changing stations off. Those are thousands and thousands of dollars, and they're all bent to shit now because they want to dance and jump on them. This is why we shut these things down for these types of events. It's just not meant for that kind of load and that kind of environment. And so they're really damaged. I mean, significant. But no, we've been keeping up with that. They've been in great shape. We haven't had a lot of issues with the cleaning aspects
To
of it.
Brian's point, vandalism has been a thing. It was a thing all summer. Graffiti, they wet toilet paper and throw it all over. Smoking and things like that. The public restrooms are only as clean as the last person. Where we send our team through there, and typically we're looking at them twice a day. But if I come in there or our team comes through there at 7 a.m., 7:15, they might not look so great. So it's just something that when we took on, we recognized that we're going to have a part of this plan to be reactionary. There's going to be times that we're not going to have our best face on because someone came through there and graffitied the inside or carved the wall or broke the lights or broke the changing table or tore the urinal off the wall or all those other things that happen.
So, I guess my main thing there, and I understand where I see there's the blank in the summer help. I'm looking at the 2025 recommended one, though, I see there's a 15K and then a 10K and then a blank.
Yep.
So is it 15,
So
is it
that
10?
was-
Is
that-
it $15 or 15.50 or?
It's zero. That's what the recommendation is. If we needed significant money there, we'd put it. That's
Oh.
what's going on. We are being able to manage it for the most part with our existing forces and our existing structure that we have and the people that may or may not work on a weekend. And the times we come in the morning, it's checked right away. We're closing it down sharp at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. We're checking it at that time. They're taking a look at before they go home, making sure everything's well. And for the most part, it's been meeting significant needs. To point to you got to come in at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, it's just an undoable task. First of all, you'll never find anybody to do it, but it's really not that necessary. And to his point, it could be clean at 9 o'clock, and it's that last person that comes and uses it and decides to destroy it. And this is the very nature we talked about when we were building this thing and talking about it for years before that. So it truly is only as clean as the last person that uses it.
No, yeah. So what it was this 15 or this 10 that was for like a private service that we
No,
were,
that's what we had. He recommended it. I had changed it. I got to make the budget balance. How are we doing it? How can we do it? It's evaluated, and that was the recommendation.
okay. So
It's gonna be incorporated into somebody
It's-
else who's.
It's incorporated into existing staffing and how we operate.
Versus having it as a separate line item.
gotcha. Okay.
We also,
Okay. So that's baked into staff.
Existing labor, correct?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Just want to make sure that that doesn't mean zero and have fun whoever walks in. We are taking care of it, but like you said, it's again, you can't guarantee it's only as clean as the last person that went in. But we are still accommodating for
Yeah.
keeping that
I mean, when
clean.
it says public restroom cleaning in a number, it's public restroom cleaning overtime is what that really is.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. It's not that we're not cleaning it. Of course we are.
Right. Okay.
Yep. That's what.
I mean, I figured that was the answer,
No,
but
it's the overtime. Right. Right.
okay.
But when you're putting these things together, you got to plan for everything. What's it really like? What's the use rate? What's happening? How do people treat it? It's definitely being vandalized more than I ever thought it would be. I thought you would always have those nuances, especially building it the way we did. It's beautiful. It's big. It's lit up. There's cameras everywhere. We're going to put some signage up saying there's cameras everywhere, so maybe that scares some folks. It probably won't. But you can't put them inside the building, right? So you don't know who's actually doing it. So somebody can come out, and you may get a glimpse of their face, but you don't know if that was it them that did it, was it the person that came in an hour later. It's just a really challenging thing to operate. Just the other day, I walked in there, and Mo, one of our public works employees, was in there, and they just carved up the wall. They stuck stickers all over the ceiling. Like, I don't even know how you do it. The ceilings in there are vaulted. They're 15 feet or more.
They're up there.
I don't know how it is and why do it, but it's nonstop what's going on. But again, it's a public restroom. It's no different here than anywhere else. People do it everywhere. And we'll keep doing it because I think the benefit of having it, they're used constantly. There's always someone in it. We encourage people to be around there. It's a great asset, but we knew it would be one of the
Yeah.
the cause and effect issues with having something like that. And that's just something you say I'm willing to deal with and address, and to some point you can't really gripe too much about it because you put it in play, right?
Right.
So,
while we're on,
I appreciate that clarity on it.
Yeah.
while we're on 5010, I misspoke, I apologize. Trustee Briggs, I think, asked me how many summer help I had. Because we actually have 3. Steve Vernelli is returning as our flower water, and we took that last year. We had a specific line for flower watering that was bookmarked as Steve. So this year it'll fill one of these summer help positions.
so this is one of those things as we keep enhancing our things to maintain and landscaping and so forth. Steve's very unique because he's a former retiree of Public Works. But he works 7 days a week, and he's on a cart consistently from 8 o'clock in the morning till 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a very specialized thing. It's very monotonous. It's very tedious, and you've got to want to do it. Should Steve ever leave, if he came in right now and asked for cigarettes, we get it to him, because who's going to truly agree to do that? It's fun for a month, and then what? And he does it. And he does it with a smile on his face, and he talks to every single person that crosses his cart path on a given day. I don't know how he even gets the work done. He loves to talk. That's Steve, though. He's wonderful. He just wakes up happy. Again, an ambassador to the village.
He's as valuable
He
as
really
the
is.
flowers that he waters.
He really
it's-
is.
It's just, it's
He really
color
is.
for the village. And, you know, he knows it all. You know, he's been here for a long, long
Yep.
time. And it's wonderful to have him. And people look for him now, you know. They're used to seeing him. They walk the canal, they do it. Where's Steve, Pat? Where's Steve?
He's kind of like a fixture of furniture on Main Street. Like he's just, the cart's out, he's out. He's up there looking at the thing. I mean, it's just.
So Steve's returning also, and he'll, like I said, he'll absorb one of these summer help lines.
He's number 18 on the team. I've given him a number.
Okay.
Steve's.
Brian, Trustee Briggs has a really good idea for festivals in the bathroom, so you might want to pick her brain later, okay?
I may have already shared that.
All right, so I'll go around one more time. Does anybody have additional items that are for Jason and Brian about the DPW?
No, Trustee Briggs, I'm fine with the DPW.
Okay,
No further questions. Thank you.
this end says they're okay. Emmy, okay?
Just want to say thank you. I've seen you out there right with all of your personnel doing the exact same job that they're expected to do and early. So I appreciate you and
Thank you.
yeah.
While Jason's here, is there anything with sanitary sewer you want to talk about, discuss, learn about? It's a fairly straightforward budget. It's about 450 grand. It's a dirty job. We're not changing the rates in that, the rents. We're just continuing to do the ongoing maintenance, assisting with private sewer lateral repair within the right of way. Continue to design, scope, and document and map our sanitary sewer collection system. In addition to lining it over those types of things that we did. So that's the job in a nutshell. That's what we're continuing to do. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I don't know if it requires Jason. In the governor's budget, there was additional funding for sewer maintenance for communities. I don't know if it made it through yet or not. But something to look into.
I thought I saw that, and I thought that it was for communities that had wastewater treatment facilities.
I saw there's some that's like water, but there was also sewer funding. And so like we just discussed this a couple days ago when we were talking about AIM funding, that Brockport and there are only 2 villages in Monroe County that have water systems. Everybody else gets it probably from Lake Ontario. Brockport's one, and I can't remember the other. So that cuts us out of that part of the funding. But I don't know if we fall in that second category. So I'm just going to suggest
I follow the entire budget process.
Brian's been getting nonstop emails from me for the last couple of days. Hey, look, there might be funding here. There might be funding there. But I was just curious if you had any idea about it at this point in time.
There is that program. I've seen it. We're following all 3 House budgets, both the House budgets and the governor's budget, to see what makes it in, what goes on. We're tracking a number of bills. So internally. So we're going to watch, see what's going on. We're really interested in what happens with AIM, but we're really interested in what happens with our CHIPS and highway funding and what's going to happen with the allocations long term. What's happening with a typical DRI, Forward New York grants, Restore New York grants, Main Street grants, things that really matter to folks like us and how we do it. So we're tracking all that, making sure that we're going to stay competitive, and if there's something to be released, we're ready to do that. DRI came out again about a week or 2 ago. We're not applying for it. It's for $10 million for your downtown. We've done it 4 or 5 times. It's a very political machine that does the DRIs, but it's also, they tend to go more for depressed areas where you can see $10 million having an impact. But we will be seeking other types of grants and things to look at. The streetscape project is going to take up our time over the next 18 months significantly to do what we're doing and get through that, get reimbursed. We don't have cash flow for front any more grants anyway, correct? The joke, but it was streetscape. So this is really not an opportunity we can get any more anyway because they're all reimbursable grants. But we'll keep looking at for things that we're doing in the future and how they can subsidize the operation.
Just a quick question. Were there more lateral or sewer breaks in recent months than normal? Or is that normal?
So, just lately, we had some, water breaks, from Monroe County Water Authority. That was due to, some, fire operations. So we had water breaks on Liftbridge Lane East, on West Church Street. Is that what you're referring to, or?
Sanitary sewer. Liftbridge Lane East had sanitaries.
Oh,
Other things.
Yeah, more related to residences.
I don't think more than normal, sanitary sewers
The
are.
sanitary stuff is coming more prevalent because we're looking for it, right? This doesn't show its ugly face. We were doing investigatory work, looking around, really looking at our really crucial areas, like almost like the heart of the arteries of our sanitary sewer system. If those go down, it really impacts bigger things with siphons and other things. We're noticing problems, traps, potential
I'm sorry,
collapses, those
did you
things.
say laterals or mains? I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what they were.
Okay.
There were several, I think,
Adam, help me out here.
Yeah, the
There-
laterals,
few
the
There
laterals
have
from
been
the
sewer
houses.
laterals issues.
No, I don't think that we've noticed any significant uptick.
Okay.
So Mark Lenzi, our code enforcement officer, issues those permits because the laterals are privately maintained.
Okay.
So, and typically, the inspections for those get handled out of the DPW. So one of the staff members from the DPW will go and make the inspections to ensure that the connections to our infrastructure are being done adequately and according to our development guidelines. So, no, we haven't noticed a marked difference in the amount, no.
Okay.
But to what Brian was alluding to, we have had some significant storm or sanitary sewer main, which is the trunk line repairs that we've done recently, and there's more work to come. But it's because, as we get into because one of the processes that we're doing in the sanitary sewer fund is televising the lines throughout the village to try to take a true inventory and a snapshot of what condition the pipes are in, what material they're made of, how deep they are, where they go, what they look like, how much time do we have left, and with those we review all that video footage and we do preventative measures, whether it's treating them for root intrusion or just simple cleanings or even up to and including lining, which is a program that we endeavored to begin, and the first step was the televising. And right now, we've got a contractor in the village, and they're taking the measurements for the lining they've been here all week doing taking those measurements, and we have roughly $200,000 worth of lining that'll take place in April this year, so in the next 2 weeks.
Your guys have to help with that too, huh?
We do. Well,
many-
and it's super important that we're there for a multitude of reasons. One, if we're providing traffic control services, then we're not paying somebody else for it. If, anytime that someone who doesn't work directly for the village as a paid employee is working on our infrastructure. We want to ensure someone with a vested interest is there over their shoulder, ensuring that process, that function, that repair is being done to our standard. And the only way to ensure that is if we're inspecting it as it happens. Trust but verify.
Anything else? Do you have something? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you all good?
I'm good.
Okay. I think we're done with sewers.
Thanks for giving me the chance to come and talk to you guys. You know, it's important that you know, we're able to discuss and help you to understand the things that challenge us day to day, and for you to know that, you know, we're here to try to execute and provide.
Can
The
we have
village.
can we have a tour of the new supply room?
Hey, you can have a tour of anything you like.
Okay, I want to see this
So
new
we-
supply room.
We can have guided tours, yeah.
What's that?
But, and I also welcome, you know, welcome the board to stop by the DPW facility, meet with staff, get to know who they are. It helps.
I have on my list of, I put it the other night when we were going through this. You'll be getting an email from me pretty soon.
Fabulous. You're all welcome. Please come down. I mean, we've got fantastic facility. We're really lucky. Not a lot of communities have a facility as nice as we do. We have incredible equipment. Matt Haggerty from FMC has handled Central Garage. You guys have probably either going to go through that or have gone through that. But the team down there works tirelessly to keep us in business. So, you know, it's everyone's a piece of this. So come down, see what we have. We'll even take you for rides.
Let's say you can go drive anything you want. You own it. I mean, get in it and go. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Why not? When do you get to do something like that? They got vehicles in there with tires taller than you. Go drive it. It's fun. The loaders,
Come on down.
come on down. It's a good time. I worked for a place one time. We had our own ice rink.
As-
And I got to drive the Zamboni, and it was like the best thing you could ever do.
I'm thinking the electric motorcycle.
It's downstairs right now. It's a good night to ride.
I want to second what Trustee Mishler said a little bit earlier about how much we really appreciate your role and the role of your team in this village, that we would not have the place that we all cherish without the DPW and the members of your team. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's a group thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Back to you, Village Manager White. Word now.
Thank you. You turn that off. What would you guys like to go over next? Do you want to call it a night, or do you want to keep going? What would you like to talk about?
I just have a few Post-its, because I did read through.
Let's do it.
These are hopefully not. Not big questions. I just started in the front and went through.
Sure.
So page 2 of 42. Just curious, it says franchise fees with cable TV. What is that?
So we get franchise fees for utilities that are in our right-of-way, how they operate, whether it be like a Spectrum or a Dish Network or Charter Communications for your cable, whatever. They're all that infrastructure to get to your house is in village right-of-way. So there's a cost to doing that we charge. We charge, I think it's 1% of the total bill to every customer. You'll see that on your bill if you open it up right now. It's called a franchise fee, and it's just really, to be honest, it's just another revenue stream for the village.
Is that
of
green light
Fairport.
too? Or is that
No,
separate?
It's another thing.
Okay.
It's not green light.
I couldn't
It's
remember if we
like
got
this
it
all over
included in there.
the country, but it's essentially, you have a public or private utility utilizing public resources, so there's a fee associated with that.
So they're like renting our little public space for their thing. I get it.
Pay to
Okay.
utilize the facilities.
What is it called?
Pay to utilize the facilities. Yeah.
Thank you. That's $60,000 though.
Mm-hmm.
On the next page 4 of 42, under special facility fees.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine one is for the Colonial Bell. This is like dock rentage,
Yes. it's
Erie
for the-
Canal Company. And then the rest that says docking, that's just the revenue generated from the public boats and people that come down and
That's
use
correct.
the public
Yep.
docks?
Yep.
It's actually lower than what it should be if the canal was at the proper height. We
Yes.
would have more.
Yeah, I mean, with that, we don't have to debate all this now, just so you know, we had some conversations with the Canal Corp about, we want to be able to use these new docks we built, to challenge that. We're losing about $15,000 in revenue from that, but it's really not so much just about the revenue, it's just about we have these great facilities that are not being utilized to their full potential. Long story short is just due to the earth embankment issues and all those other types of intrusions, this may be like this for another 5 years plus, and you probably should expect, not maybe, it will be, where you're gonna see a level that's, a water level that's, they advertise it's 12 inches below water level. I'm telling you, it's 2 feet more. I think that's kind of an average. Jason and I had this conversation today. It's significant. Those docks, people sometimes complain or send us some emails regarding, what's going on, how big of an idiot you have to be to build these things at the wrong height. They're exactly the height that was permitted by Canal Corp for all our dock facilities, and how we built them. So, but it will be, you're looking at another 5 or 6 years at this lower water level until the proper maintenance can be done on some of these earthen embankments, which they don't exist in the village, but the locks that control us were in that, between a lock and a lock, there's some earthen embankments, and we have to, unfortunately, are being penalized for some of the other local governments that have borders of the canal that have earthen embankments, so.
Yeah, I understood that too, that it's just this special little area that's gonna be artificially low, and we happen to be in it. But
We're
it's
at it.
really like
There's
2 lots.
129 miles of earthen embankment that has to be mitigated in the Canal Corp infrastructure, which is over 460 miles. Yeah, we're in that process. Last year was the first year they did, I think, 3 miles, no, I'm sorry, maybe 5 miles worth of work last year, and it cost something like $3 or $4 million. I think there's 47 locks. Each one requires 25 to $50 million in repair. There's a lot of deferred maintenance and things that need to happen for a very old infrastructure, right? And when you look at, an asset like the Canal Corp, which we look as an asset now for recreation and those types of things, but it doesn't bring in really to any revenue, but it's all expense. So how do you fund that? How do you maintain it? It's a challenge, right? We all want that asset, but the cost to do that and do it correctly with public safety in mind is a challenge. I don't envy the New York Power Authority, the Canal Corp, that has to manage this asset that runs the entire length of New York State. So that's where we're at right now. They understand our position. They understand our concern. They understand our frustration. It was verbalized the last couple of weeks. The mayor's aware of those conversations, and they'll do the best that they can to the point that we can lobby to kind of get front in the line to have our earthen embankments done first. We'll try that, but everyone's in the same boat, right?
Brian, I thought you did a really nice job just clarifying with, through email that the docks were not built incorrectly, or that the height of the
Oh, yeah,
existing.
you were part of that, yeah.
I was part of that conversation, and
Yeah.
there was no,
It's a hard conversation to
construction
have.
error.
Right.
So I appreciated your assistance with that.
Sure, no problem. So with the docking, just to be clarify, we did increase the docking fees this year, and appropriately so. They went up around 35%, and the market fees almost double for the farmers market vendor fees. We're still below market rate in other markets around us, but looking at the expense load associated with providing those services, the fees associated with those things should be borne by the folks utilizing those. So that's what we're trying to match that, and they'll continue to move up. Instead of having these kind of bigger jumps over time, like wait 5 years and then we do something, or 7 years, let's just start having incremental increases as costs go up. That just stays continuously happening on the radar, where there's an incremental 3 to 5% a year. It needs to happen. So you should see that in the future as well.
And with that too, it sounds like we're still, from what I've been able to kind of gather and chatting with folks in general, we still have people lining up to be in there.
Oh, 100%. And quite frankly, I fully see if we can get this this docking software in. The people that utilize this, once you do it, you're on a platform that shows you all available docks along Erie Canal and places the more. Oh yeah, I'm just saying that, but that too. The market as well. This year we're expanding it by 10 spots. And increasing the rates, and it's twofold. It's A, to get more capacity, more offerings. The other part of it is we want to bring something more to the market than just the market. So we want to bring more entertainment, more venues, more events, more specialized things, more music. And I want our market manager, Allie Lawrence, to be able to have money to do fun things versus just showing up and operating and so forth. She does a great job. It's a challenging job. She gives up 26 weekends of her entire life to be here, 26 weekends in a row, and they're all in the proper times between spring and fall. Those are the times you want to be around or want to be out doing something else. And she does it with little to no interference or headache from our part. She's great. I love meeting with her. The mayor knows this. I've probably met with her 3 or 4 times this year, setting up for next year, going over what's going on, understanding the build-out and demo plans for 58 South Main Street. How's that going to impact the market? How are we going to get people in? What are we going to do for parking? How do we add more capacity? And it's been great conversations, but she's highly motivated. She wants to keep making it better. We encourage that. She's incredible. I'm glad that we have someone to do that. Again, not many people are willing to give up, regardless of your passion for markets, 26 weekends in a row. You're just not going to do it. And then right now, she's working from January to May just to get everything set up, structured, organized, applications, permits, insurance. There's a lot that happens to get the market ready to go for May. It's not just showing up from 7 to 12 and then closing shop. There's a significant administrative component to running a market the way we do it. She does it.
No, 0% change. Oh, it's right there. It's been the same every year. So Trustee Mitchell was, so you know what we were just talking about. She was pointing at AIM funding and there was 0% at the end, and I said, it just means that there's no change, that it's been the same dollar amount year after year after year after year. That's part of the problem right now. I was out on Monday at City Hall in the city of Rochester, making that plea with the mayor of Rochester and some other village mayors to try and get some action to get us any kind of improvement in AIM. The current amount is a 10% increase, which for the city of Rochester, it equals, Mayor Evans said it would be about $32 million for their budget. However, for us, it would be about $14,000.
Yeah.
When you look at $14,000 as a component of a $7 million budget, it's not very much. However, when I talked to the mayor of Honeoye Falls, while we get $140,000, Honeoye Falls gets $14,000. So they would appreciate any increase as well. And none of the municipalities have had any change in AIM in 15 years. However, the school districts have been getting some really good assistance in the last few years, and we'd like to see a little bit of that fall over to municipalities to towns and villages could use that kind of assistance as well. There, I made my plea. I make it every time I see anybody who represents us in the state legislature, and I also make it whenever I see someone from the governor's office. So,
Thank you.
Tracy, I know you have a couple more Post-its over there.
Yep, little things that caught my eye. On page 30 of 42, at the bottom, it's publicity contractual expenses, and I understand the newsletter and Fact 12 TV. I didn't, curious about public relations media amount, and then canal flags, new canal flags. That sounds up my alley. What's that?
So, yeah, we're gonna, in some capacity, whoever does it will determine, but it's our assets. But we're looking at designing and having some new canal flags put up. The ones that we've been putting up there for years, the yellow ones are fairly dated. Well, they are dated and tattered, so it's time to make it just clean up and change. We're gonna replace all the American flags and everything up on Main Street as well and do those things right and buy some really quality ones. That's in this budget as well. Public relations media is really just us being able to promote different things, maybe sponsor some events, put on our own events. We want to do some activities this year on Lift Bridge Lane West, whether that be doing movies and stuff, promotions for maybe Wine All You Want Wednesdays, a Mule Night, whatever we want to do. They've got a lot of these things we've been talking about and creating some activity. The issue with not doing it the last year or two is because we have gas mains that we know we have to do. There are construction going on for the bathroom. There's construction going on with Machete Building, and this stuff goes on there. There's just keeps having things that are messing up our stuff, our feng shui. So, so we're finally.
This is our year. This is our
I
summer.
keep saying that. So anyway, that's what that's for, and to do any of those types of events and planning and things that we might want to do some promotions and some fun things. So that's why there's some money in there to do that. Fact 12, that's something for some of the historical stuff, that window's there for a reason. The village used to have its own complete TV studio station and ran its own productions through there. When I tell you it was staffed with 3 or 4 people, it's probably a $600,000 a year operation. It had top-of-the-line equipment as like ESPN. That room was locked up for years, but when I came here and got curious about what's behind the locked door that I'm not allowed to go into as a village manager, we walk in there, and it had been locked up for a while, but there was equipment, racks, servers, lights, cameras, lights that were 4 feet long, you name it, just sitting in there. And then we got
Top-of-the-line
infested with some
technology.
bugs and some, Jason, I think, came around at the time with, must have probably been 10,000 bees that had died in there and been died. And I mean that many. And it was a large room, and it was that room and the kitchen. We just put the wall up to make the kitchen. It was that whole area. But they would shine the cameras and give the signals to everything through the window. So that was
State-of-the-art.
interesting. So that's what that was. But nevertheless, there's been this thing where we've been consistently kind of giving money to them, support them. They're in East Rochester now. We took it out this year. I tried to contact them, and we haven't heard back. But essentially, you're just kind of subsidizing a public access news station. But they used to do interviews for us. They used to come around. They used to take all our videos that were from here and put them onto public TV like Charter, which people don't watch TV the way they used to. A lot of people have cut the cord.
Do they not do that anymore? I thought they were still doing it a couple times a week.
Not our stuff.
Oh.
Because they'd have to go through me to get it, and they don't do that.
And the
They used
last
to
time they
interview
were
us,
here
they
to
used to
do
talk to
an
us.
interview was 2019.
They used to publish interviews, give us kind of a state of the village, or from a management and from a political perspective, and we would talk and do these things, and we haven't seen them in years and years and years. So we decided to eliminate that, and I think it's the right thing to do. So yeah, good question.
Well, that kind of eliminates my last question, because I think there's Main Street flags, but we covered it there.
We have that as well.
And those are new American flags from end
Yep,
to
I
end?
know. Yep. We hired a veteran, so it's important that we have shiny red, blue, and white flags, and I agree with that.
There's nothing I like a crisp flag.
You don't have to prove it to me. One flies in my house every day. So,
Okay, that was just my little stuff that I found that I,
so we'll see what we do with the canal flags. We have some ideas. We were thinking about maybe doing some, engaging the Public Arts Committee, having them design them with some cool art. We can have them printed on some cool flags, but have like a nautical theme, do something fun. Maybe every year we kind of change them up and do something different. I don't know. It's just some stuff that Jason brought up that I thought would be pretty cool. An ability to show off the arts in the village, but still promoting the village in a different way. So I think that's what we're
I've
going to
worked
do.
on projects like that already.
No, you can work on this one.
The other thing is that as we've been replacing streetlights, we now have places to hang them because there wasn't really on those lights that were out there before.
All our
So
streetlights
as
will
we
have-
are
in the future
replacing
have-
streetlights, it now makes it available for that type of activity.
Yeah, flag holders and different things, doing them right. Yep.
And just the bicentennial of the canal is next year, so it's great that we're going to have fresh flags and on our canal front.
Yep. So we're doing things just slowly.
Easy questions, but it's like, ooh, we're getting new flags. Where are they going?
Back to movie night. I was just talking with a resident this week who was suggesting that we start a movie night. And I said, oh,
Oh, I want to buy a popcorn card. I don't even want to get in this with you guys right now. I just keep going on this thing. We're going to do it. I want it to be free. I want the kids to come out. We're doing it right.
yeah. Well,
Wine thing's going
Our
to happen if
residents want
I'm
it.
the
I
only
heard
one
it-
sitting
I
out
heard
there.
it
Emily
this
and I will
week.
go out there and sit and have some wine, sit by the fire, listen to some music out there. I want to be able to get some bands out there every once in a while, or just somebody strumming a guitar for a couple bucks. Just simple stuff, easy things, fun. It's not so much for the greater Rochester community to come out and all these visitors, just for your residents. Just simple things, come
They're our
out.
priority, yeah.
This town's for you. It's built for you. This is for something for you to. And not to mention these are easy things to do that don't take, a lot of time. You have to plan it. I need a committee of 20. Let's just, you want to do it. It's simple. Let's do something nice. Have people come out. We'll do some simple promotions, and it's for our residents. So we want to focus some more on things like that. We've been talking a lot about just what are the things we can do just for our residents, just to keep it simple without saying, let me go out recruit and sell 1,000 tickets to justify the cost of doing it. I mean, it just becomes a means to an end, so working on it.
great stuff.
Do you have anything, Emily? Okay.
I'm good. Thank
Anything
you.
down
Good
consent that
discussion.
you still have a,
Just at the moment, just a couple of quick ones. Notice, obviously we do like vacation buyback, so I'm assuming that means there's folks, if like at the end of the year they haven't taken it. We're not seeing high numbers on that, right? I want to make sure people keep their sanity.
Vacation is one of the best things you can do for your mental health.
Yeah.
And we actually yell and make you take vacation because it's good for your mental health. And the people that don't end up being grumpy, right? It's true. Vacation back. Some people sell maybe a week or something back, but not a lot of people. Most people use it. But the bigger vacation buybacks and some of the stuff that we're selling out are like for police when they retire or they're leaving and they have a significant comp time build up or we're making a payout. You'll see some of that in there, and it's always the case generally. But no, we don't have a significant amount. You
Right.
can't carry over a bunch anyway through our policy, so that kind of prohibits this large sum coming in all at once. So
Right. No, I just want to make sure too,
Yeah.
because that's the other thing about, we want to make sure we show our appreciation for the folks who do work here and make sure that, that contributing to the, the culture that we were just, talking about with Jason, that, we're all working together, but, at the same time.
take your time off, enjoy it, take a trip, take a long weekend. It's important.
Yeah. And and then the last one is here. I don't know if you know offhand, but just the pilots. Do we know when these sort of come to term? Because eventually it starts to ratchet up, and in theory, then too, that means that those numbers will change.
Well, it's more revenue, right? So pilots are
Exactly.
always, they'd be assessed and just get a tax bill and part of real property taxes. The only reason they're a pilot because you've reduced that
Right.
for a scheduled process in an effort to get that development to be up in par and up and running and managed well and be successful. So, yeah, we have all those schedules that are documented. We up that listing every single year based on the contractual schedules of the pilot, and whether it be a 10-year pilot or 20-year pilot or whatever. Some of the ones you see on there continuously continue to be renewed. But yeah, they consistently generally go up, and some of the renewals, they kind of stay consistent over time because they don't change much, but,
Okay.
yep.
So, all right, so if I wanted to, I could somewhere find where those terms,
Well, we have,
isn't it?
they're listed in there as far as. what-
Oh, no, I know they're listed, but like
you wanna- if you
when
want-
they're due, when they
We
mature.
have that listing. We
Okay.
have that if you're interested.
All right.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else, Adam?
At least not right.
Not tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're questioned out for the evening. Doesn't mean there won't be more questions next time we get together.
We talked earlier. I know this is tough when we have kind of an expedited schedule here, just due. I know the mayor's got a tight schedule for some planned leave that she has and so forth, because generally you'll get it on a Monday, then the following Monday you would have it a week to review. It's hard to, after Monday night, getting out of here and getting home at 9 o'clock, and then all of a sudden a day or so later you're sitting in here, so it's challenging. So we keep saying it, if there's a time where you want to get together, meet, you want to just talk about some basic things, sometimes it's easier to talk one-on-one versus in a crowd and on the camera, just to explain some things. More than happy to meet with you at your convenience to do that, and we want you to be comfortable with the budget. It's yours. You're adopting it. You're going to be held accountable for it. So more than happy to do that. But we have plenty of time. Like, we have a couple more meetings if we need to do it, and then even those are just the ones that are scheduled. If you want to just continue to talk about it or to do it, we don't adopt this till mid-April. We have a lot of time to do this. There's no rush. We can do this whatever we want. Yes.
Do we have a planned time to go over our fee schedule with this?
We can do it anytime you want to, but yeah, we're going to go through it with you because we made some changes to that, some
Okay.
recommendations.
Can we do it, not tonight,
Yeah.
next
Yeah,
week?
we have it ready to go. Changes are in red.
Okay.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
I'll check my email for homework for Monday.
Yeah, take your time. I didn't expect anybody to really do a hard
Well,
review between Monday.
Our
and
public
Tuesday.
hearing is on Monday,
Yeah.
but there's also, we'll have some time to go through more questions if you come up with more questions.
The budget has been published. It's on the website. It's on social media. It's on Everbridge. It's on our website. It's on multiple pages on the website. It's all out there. So it's definitely available for people. It's the whole
Someone
budget.
might show up to
The
chat.
entire book is there, just the way you see it here. This is the digital format, exactly like this. So they're seeing exactly, the public is seeing exactly what you're saying. The entire budget presentation is out there in its entirety. So everything's there.
I really appreciate the front of the book the most because it's more of a story.
Oh, the message?
Yeah, the message. It
No
just
one reads
it
that.
paints. Oh, I read
She
it.
did.
Did you really?
She's got all these highlights in it.
I read all of it. Same. And for me, that's what makes
Good.
it. That's what helps me understand how the overall process and
Yeah.
how we end up with a balanced budget or try to. So yeah,
Oh, Tracy read hers
we're
too?
reading it.
Most people don't read them. I give you credit then. Jason didn't
Yeah.
read it.
It is very helpful.
No.
You have the Cliff's Notes? Oh.
It makes sense.
Okay.
So thank you.
Anything last? I'll do the housekeeping. Our next meeting is Monday, March 25th. It's also the evening that we have our public hearing on the budget. We will meet here at 6 p.m. And then we have another additional evening that's set aside in case we have more that we would like to cover. And I don't have, I should just look at my calendar on my phone. Hang on.
Are fire and police on the
On-
docket for Monday then? Okay.
Wednesday, March 27th is our final budget meeting if needed. But please feel free to contact Megan or Brian if you have additional questions, and they will be happy to sit down with you and explain it. Brian, do you want to go through, I know it's almost 8 o'clock, but do you want to take 5 minutes? Remember what we talked about earlier today, the basic explanation of the page with the tax levy? Just what is a tax levy? It'll only take 5 minutes. He's going to simplify it.
Turned up my lip at the mayor.
That if we, please try and simplify it so I don't have to simplify it for you.
Page. Oh, God. Page 26 of 200 in your textbook class.
Excellent. So when we look at this chart and we look at the proposed 2024, 2025, the first line, assessed valuation, is the assessed valuation of? Okay. For the rest of the folks on the board, I know how long it's taken me to get to the point where I understand what this is. So, if we just go through it, and it doesn't have to be longer than 4 minutes at this point.
I'll let Megan talk about it then if you don't want more. Okay, so we'll go through because this really is the most important stuff. This is what this chart boils down everything that's happening in this budget and really what the public wants to know. What's the impact to me? What's going on? I don't care what you're spending on, what you're doing. In the end of the day, what does it mean to me, right? So it's really important that you at least understand this concept. I wish more municipalities just put together a simple chart like this because this is really what matters and you can never find it in a budget. The assessed valuation, so if you're looking at the top, for proposed 24-25, the assessed valuation is $430,215,349. So what is that? That is the value, let me rephrase that. That is the taxable value of all real property in the Village of Fairport. When we say real property, it's everything that you see, right? Every
Except
building,
for like schools,
every house. Yep, so I'm gonna get into that.
parks.
So when I say taxable, I think the full assessed valuation, whether it be taxable or non-taxable, is what? It's in there. I think it's $550 million worth of property, 600 million, somewhere around there. Yeah, 605. So $170 million worth of real property in this village is not taxed. That's significant, right? What's the percentage on that? Does it say? So 30, no, that's the equalization, but nevertheless, so that becomes to, what is that? Churches, school districts, village hall, public works facility, the museum, any nonprofit status buildings, a Red Cross, a blood drive, whatever those might be. Those are, when you see the word nonprofit, you go, ooh, nonprofit, you know what I say? That sucks, I don't pay taxes, right? I gotta provide services to them, they get police, they get fire, they get sewer, they get trash pickup, they get their streets maintained, and they don't pay anything, right? There's a significant issue with how we have established this non-taxable status associated with these types of structures, and they are crippling economies because the burden now is being shared by 60% of the community, while the other 40% is now being subsidized by that, right? Think of what your taxes and your assessed value would do and your levies would do if everyone's paying their fair share. That whether you're a for-profit or not-profit, the benefit that you provide, you're getting is still the same, right? So that's what that is. The tax levy. The tax levy is just that. It's the amount of money being raised by taxes alone, the amount of revenue being raised by taxes alone. You are levying it on your residents for the services in which you're going to enact in this budget and the cost to provide them. That's what you're doing. You're levying that tax, that penalty on them. That's what it costs. And the levy is done by solely as if you have a $10 million budget, just for easy calculation, And when I say $10 million budget, it's just not a fictitious thing. You want to do $10 million worth of work. You want to spend $10 million per year, which it comes in the form of procurement, people, buildings, nuts and bolts, services, whatever it is that you want to do. You feel that is the threshold of spending that's going to meet your standards for the assets that you want to provide this community and how you want to maintain its infrastructure, right? So what I do is I say, listen, what is all the other ways that we can find and facilitate revenues outside of real taxes, right? So in our budget, what is the tax levy? 3.2 million. So $4.8 million is all other revenues that we get in this village. And I still want to spend $7.5 million this year. And I hope you do too. But if that's the threshold we want to do, we still have to raise another $3.2 million to meet that budget gap, right? So if you're willing to do that, that's what you're going to levy on them. That is the gap that you have to fill, right? Outside of franchise taxes and sales taxes and mortgage taxes and utilities fees and notary fees and all these other things that we do, it's not enough to meet that budget obligation that we want to levy and set forth on our residents. Does that make sense? Ish? Okay. The rate. Can't stress this enough. Means absolutely nothing. It is nothing more than a mechanism to facilitate the assessed value in the levy. So that's all the rate is you take the levy, you divide it by your assessed valuation times $1,000 per $1,000 of assessed value, and that's where you get this $391. So in this case, if you look at the tax rate, of all the assessed valuation, if you charge $7.52 per $1,000 on that assessed valuation going up to $430 million, you're going to get your tax levy, or you're going to meet your tax levy amount, in which this case is $3.2 million. That's what you do. That is the calculation. The rate is nothing more than a calculation or a mathematical computation in an effort to create a tax bill and send it to you. So when you see people out there, which drives me crazy in this business, saying, our tax rate went down 10 cents last year or 10%, it is funny math that did nothing. Because I guarantee if you look at their bill is actually higher, even though the tax rate down. And the only reason they're saying that is because the assessed value of that went up. So if my house is worth $300,000 this year, $400,000 next year, but my tax rate which is a 25% increase, right? But if my tax rate only went down 10%, it means I have a 15% increase in my bill. Okay, so that's what's going on with that. It means nothing. So when people say, like, gee, if you look at all of the tax rates, I was looking, Jill sent me some the other day, I was looking at all the tax rates in New York State, then breaking down by Monroe County, and the village has one of the highest. Well, does that mean it's more expensive to live here than anywhere else? Absolutely not, right? It goes by a lot of things. Geneva has a tax rate of $23 per $1,000 assessed value, but the average home there is worth $70,000. So if you do that math versus having a tax rate at $7, which is 3 times less, but our house is worth 3 times more, they're paying the exact same bill that we are. So when you start really measuring what does it cost to live in a place and what's going on, or who says they have the most highest taxes, then you got to break it down even further. What are the services they're providing for that tax level? What does it cost to run a fire department that reaches 10,000 people? What's my cost? What's your cost? Right? It is really, really hard, and I'll say almost impossible to start ranking yourself with other municipalities about the cost of doing business. You don't know what their operation is like internally. You don't know what it costs them to do it. You don't know if they're efficient or not efficient. There is really no way to compare yourself to another company providing similar service, because they're not similar. They're different in every way. How we function, how we buy, how we manage, the political viewpoints of our board, everything is different. Okay? I told you it wouldn't be 4 minutes.
Try
And then-
and get it finished in 5.
So does that all make sense? So that's good. And then what we do is we just want to say on average. Now remember, this is just for a household that we're comparing this to, so you have some type of context. The median taxable assessed value for single-family homes. That's all we're looking at. We still have business communities. We still have multifamilies. We still run industrial areas. I mean, those things, whatever. But on average, the median household being $179, the current assessed value at the tax rate, people are paying on average $1,350 in their bill, right? And it's pretty daggone close most of the time, on average. Some people are paying a little more, some people are paying a little less, but the majority in the middle is going to be paying that number, and it will be close. The general fund budget, that's the full budget. It's how much we're spending this year. It's $7,467,000. It's a 2.7% increase, or $200,000 increase in dollars to what last year is. So you're sitting there saying over year, we're spending 2.7% more than we did last year to keep operating the way we do. And in the scheme of things and everything that you've seen here and the challenge that we have, it's really not that bad, right? And then the appropriate fund balance is truly what is that revenue that we are taking from unrestricted fund balance, right? Our reserves, your savings account to balance the budget, right? After we do all the other revenues, and then we even put the real property taxes in there, we still have a $200,000 budget gap. So we're taking some money from our savings account to help mitigate that tax levy increase, and that's what the appropriation from fund balance is. Every municipal budget in the world has an appropriation from fund balance. Every one of them. I would love to come to you tomorrow, and I can come to you tomorrow and say, hey, we're not going to do appropriate fund balance anymore. The budget needs to live on its own merits of revenue expense, just like an enterprise fund. There's no wiggle room there. But in order to make $200,000, it'd be another 8% on top of the 5 in an effort to do this. So you'd have a 13% increase to get rid of fund balance tomorrow. That is not something that my job would be survivable with. Megan would be on the street with me, and you guys wouldn't be reelected. And I don't think it's necessary, because the way we budget, how we balance our fiscal conservatism towards spending, just because it's in here doesn't mean we have to spend it, is why we continue to carry a fund balance appropriation in the budget, but it's not always executed and utilized. Okay?
So Brian, with the spending of that 201,651 of the fund balance, what percentage will remain in fund balance compared to our overall?
In your fund balance calculation, you have exactly to the penny 30% of
30.
your the proposed adopted
Okay.
expenses in there, which is the max amount per fund balance policy that you guys have adopted.
So we're keeping it at the max.
Yes,
Perfect. Thank
and
you.
always will.
Love it. Thank you.
Maybe until
As
next
long
year.
as we're all on the same strategic.
It's all about protecting your credit,
Yep.
protecting who you are, your ability to operate, cash flow. That's really important. You start eroding that. It's a short-term decision. Do you see the impact? But I can tell you, somebody sitting in your chair from 4 or 5 years from now is going to see the impact. You don't want to do that.
Yep.
Yep.
Do you feel comfortable with that?
Better, yes, thank you.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable with that? Okay. No, you did a really good job. Do you all feel?
I just want to say, I don't think you really can understand the value unless you're living in the community. I mean, there isn't really a way to gather the sense of the value, the levy, the rate, all of it until you're actually living in the community and you know the services that you're getting.
I've done consulting gigs where I've had to prove the value of a company and really determine the cost factor associated with certain services. I'm telling you right now, it is virtually impossible. There are so many variables that come into play, and you can morph numbers to say anything you want them to do with any message that you want. It's almost impossible. And to your point, the level that you need to dig in and to be a part and integrate yourself into another company to actually truly ascertain how well they're doing, which you're never going to be able to do as an outside person doing the analytics. It's challenging. So when people start going out there and truly start doing charts, everyone likes to throw a chart. Look at us, look at our levy compared to our citizenry. You know, it's lower than everyone else's, or our rate, or this, that, and the other. There's so many factors that go into play there, and it's disingenuous when people utilize that as data or something to kind of push a narrative of a conversation or a speech or something like that. It's when they do that too, it just kind of really shows how much they don't know what they're talking about. And it's done a lot in this business, a lot.
With that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing unanimous vote, we're adjourned for the evening, and we'll see you next Monday, March 25th, 6 PM, Village Hall Boardroom.